areas are very vulnerable. They are being neglected. Banyaji, they are isolated, and actually the people grow old. They don't cease to be useful. They are still useful in the societies and communities. So at least if you can do something, please do it. And the news, Banyaji, of the inmate at Zira who pounced on another inmate and killed her. I think she was a female, yes, and killed her. But for me, the point here is they are saying it's the second time she's doing the same. At first it was in at Masindi prison. So I'm thinking, if it is a mental problem, why should she be, in the same cells with other people? Because I want to assume that the first time she did it, maybe they thought it was a mistake. Sorry?
Proceed. This one is
mismanagement. I don't know by who now, but at least that's management. But for me, they should have studied this person, and at least they should have realized that maybe there is a mental issue that can be handled. But finally, Banyaji, granting Minister Chitutu bail, some people think it's, but for me, I think it's right. Just like other people have been granted bail, much as what she did is not good, but it's not the first time that someone is being granted bail. So for me, let us not look at it from a different angle. And some people are saying this was just public relations. She wasn't in. So all that. I think we're going to talk more about that.
Okay.
But I want to thank you so much once again for hosting us all this time.
Okay, thank you. Welcome, Sifa. We have a guest, Bruce Owakonda. Welcome to the Big Seat. Good morning.
Good morning, Westgate. Good morning to the listeners. Glad to be back on the Big Seat. And congratulations about that milestone. This is the biggest show in the land.
We appreciate the feedback.
Thank you so much.
All right. Anything that captivated your week?
Well, the biggest highlight was this Karamoja saga.
Yes, that we are going to be talking about.
Yes, and the passing of Keith Muhakanzi. It symbolizes the passing of an era. Mutebere is gone, Chris Kasami is gone. I remember when NRM came into government, at some point, Uganda was categorized as a highly indebted poor country. We couldn't generate resources internally to meet our recurrent budgets and data development budgets. But look where they have left the economy. We are good to go. So those are the two highlights.
The economy is
please, this is how his opening remarks. If it's a matter of debate, you'll have your time. Yes.
So those were the highlights for me.
Thank you. Let's now welcome this. Yes, good morning and welcome to the Big Seat. You can okay there.
Yeah, thank you, SJ. And I also want to join the panelists, Sifa and Owakonda, to say congratulations on that big achievement. Of course, there is a time when there was a storm, and you had been laid off.
I don't remember that happening.
Anyway, for us in Nupu, we are well informed. My name is Peter Mpaka, and I wish you a very good closing.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Welcome, Peter. And we have my good friend Nicholas Asimwe. Good morning and welcome to the Big Set.
Thank you, my brother Banyaji. Congratulations. I will also add my voice to the people because it's a great achievement. And there is no doubt you're hosting the biggest, best political talk show in Western Uganda. And I believe we've reached a level whereby you're now competing at the East African level. The other day we had guests from Nairobi, Kenya. It's really a big achievement. And thanks to the management for having entrusted you with that. Asimwe Nicholas Banjizi from Ruhinda Central. I extend my shout out, my greetings to my people. Then for these guys who are always implicated or suspected in corruption-related scandals, walking free, I congratulate in a special way. Let the law take its course. Bottom line, these guys also have their constitutional rights. Let the judicial system decide whether they are entitled to bail or not. Eventually, they will be prosecuted. And last night, I was very happy when the minister, the state minister finance, Rugorobi, was also
arrested.
Okay. Because it should not be just one individual being, all of them should end up there. No, it's not. It's a process by process. Okay. Eventually, all of them, we believe.
We're stopping for a break. When we come back into our topic of discussion.
Thank
Good
you.
morning.
It's tough. It's bold. It's real politics. The Big Seat on 91.2 Crooze FM. Great music.
Great music.
Great friends.
Great friends. It's about time.
Welcome to the Cool Club.
Oh, yeah.
To Crooze FM, great music. Great friends, my name is Wes Sigebanyaji. We are on air and online on www.cruisefm.com/stream right here on Plot 12 Muti Lane, and on our social media handles 912 Crooze FM on Twitter and 91.2 Crooze FM on Facebook. We put our topic of discussion this morning. Go right ahead and give us feedback. We shall welcome the calls later on in the show on 752-912-912 and 780-912-910. With me in studio is Sifa Safi, Asim Evanjisi, Peter Mpaka, and Bruce Owakunda. President Museveni wrote a letter to the Prime Minister directing that whoever took iron sheets meant for Karamoja should return them, if not their value to government, and those suspected of what he called theft prosecuted. This definitely comes after Minister of Karamoja, Mary Goreti Kitutu, was arraigned before court, remanded to Luzira, and now we know that she was able to get bail from court. And our question is this a true demonstration of the president's resolve to fight corruption? Knowing of the developments that have been happening, now we know that Amos Rugolobi, the state minister for planning, is in prison, not in prison, but he was arrested and taken to Kira police station over the same. And the president said there is nothing to even talk about. This is a matter of exploitation. Someone took what they were not meant to take, and it is theft. They must be prosecuted, whatever they are. But now the question is, why not have all of them that received iron sheets be prosecuted in the same way? Let me start with you, Bruce. First of all, when you saw the president's letter, do you now think, in fact, later on he had a conversation on social media where he was answering young people that were raising questions, and the question of corruption kept coming up. Does this now mean that the president is serious and Ugandans, we must now appreciate him for taking on corruption head on? Bruce?
Well, the efforts of the president are really welcome, and it's a step forward in the right direction.
But not all of us.
However much I'm an ardent supporter of the NRM and an admirer of President Museveni, I think, honestly, I had lost hope that this government had no political will. In fact, zero political will to tackle corruption. It's always been the usual rhetoric. We are fighting corruption, we commemorate the anti-corruption day, we spend money. But where's it get to give this the perspective it deserves? Corruption must be the biggest time bomb that Uganda is sitting on. The systematic and endemic corruption. Corruption is now a lifestyle in Uganda. It is a culture. It flows in our DNA. It forms the core existence of our society, the real fabric of our society. Corruption is everywhere. And me, when I look at this saga, I look at it in twofold. One, as a moral question. Another one, as a legal question. You can imagine a supplementary budget was passed in the last financial year of over 39 billion for relief in Karamoja. And part of that relief were iron sheets for permanent settlement for the Karamoja people. Here you have almost the entire cabinet. You have the vice president, you have the prime minister, you even have the speaker of parliament taking these iron sheets meant for people of Karamoja. This speaks to the caliber of leaders we have. Indeed, when Museveni said this cabinet was for fishermen and fisherwomen, I didn't know that he really meant it. This speaks to lack of integrity, lack of pedigree, lack of patriotism, lack of spirit of service. There is no shame left in these people, surely. And you see, the president has been massaging the egos of these people. Remember when the IGG Betkamia mentioned about lifestyle audits? What the president said? He said, go slow on these people. They will take their wealth outside. And these corrosive effects of corruption, by the way, we are going to battle them even for coming generations. So, for me, the president is just looking for the small fish. It would make sense.
Is the merry-go-round to a small fish?
Those are soft targets.
Is Amos Rugolobi a small fish?
Definitely. For me, if I want Nabanja to be in the Kuras or Kasaija, then we would start from there and know that the president is serious. Another thing, I think it's last week, when the president of Tanzania received the Office of the Attorney General's report, and she took radical decisions. The board of the Tanzania Railway Corporation was dissolved immediately. The CEO of Tanzania Freight Agency was sacked immediately. So I think the president has the right time now. This is the right time for him to show that he's very firm, he's very committed, he has the resolve, and he's willing to tackle corruption. This is the time. For me, I'm waiting.
When the president was answering young people, he said, it's a song that has been on and on about me being complacent with the corrupt. He proposed to the young people to suggest one person that stole money from government or misappropriated resources, and the president did not act. One of the young men said Alice Kavoyo, which is fact, which is a fact.
True.
she was convicted of misappropriation of resources.
And she has bounced back into cabinet.
Yes, and she was actually meant to pay back this money. But the president was able to appoint her back as Minister of State for Ruero. So is it double standards? Is it pretense? Is it who he can be able to deal with and who he can't?
And there are precedents, you see. People like Jim Huez before, people like Mike Mukura and other people. So these are precedents, and people have followed them religiously to this date. It is like a playbook. Somebody knows, but even if I go out of cabinet, maybe in 10 years I can come back. So for me, the president should take this stand now and make it very clear that there is zero tolerance in this Chisanja, and we shall support him as he has always.
He talked about taking political action, correcting this mistake politically. Yes. What do you read of that? What do you understand by the president saying, I will correct this politically?
He appoints the cabinet. He superintends over it. I think maybe a rooming reshuffle or something like that. The political action is talking about. Then the second thing is about we have legal and institutional frameworks, very robust. But I don't know why the law doesn't take the course. And it's the same about corruption. These judicial processes can easily be corrupted. We have some cadre judges. They are colleagues of these ministers. So they always find a way. Now like Goreti Chututu is out on bail. She can find the way of maneuvering around and compromise the system.
Yes.
So that is where the problem is. Then another thing, Banyaji, I think this is where a social unit, family, comes in. I think we should start from a basic unit called family. Because I have a friend, a child couldn't get into Kisubi. And he bribed for his child. Do you think that child, when he grows up, he will think corruption is bad?
No, he will think that's how things get done.
Yes. So I think this is a war we must fight as a country without across the political divide, across the political shade. Even the Mpakas should join us, because even them, I know they are going to blame all this on government, but even in their political parties themselves, they are not also coming with clean hands.
Okay, thank you. Let me bring in Sifa. Sifa, the developing story on Mabati. I think we've debated Mabati for the last about 2 months, whatever. And the issue is, do we think that government, was this so embarrassing that now the president would be left with no option but to act? Because we saw some Kahamba Kutesa being prosecuted for, inappropriation of certain resources. We saw Nasasera going through the same. We saw Gilbert Bukenya going through the same. So this is not unprecedented. We've seen ministers being arrested and prosecuted for misusing their offices. But this time around, it has been very captivating, where we see literally a whole cabinet from the vice president receiving iron sheets that were meant for the vulnerable in Karamoja. Sifa.
Thank you, Banyaji, and thank you, my friend, for your submission. I was asking someone, and actually I think I asked the same before we came live on air, that I don't know what the president is going to do, and I don't know why he's going to get the people he's going to work with. Because literally here in this country, everything can be stolen. We talked about even plastic, the jerry cans. You imagine a minister stealing jerry cans. They have stolen vaccines, money meant for vaccines. Remember in 2007 when we hosted Chogam here, they stole that money. There was no accountability in some of these things. And actually that they hosted it at a tune of $130 million, you can imagine. So in this country, everything can be stolen. And we've seen goats. There is someone is being contracted to supply goats to farmers, and they are stealing literally everything. You buy a goat of 200 and you say it is for 1 million and all that. So we don't know what we're going to do. But like my friends have said, I'm happy that at least this time round a step has been taken, because people are thinking it's going to be the usual thing. We are going to hear names and it ends there. But at least now that we saw a minister behind bars, and actually the brother and another minister now, so we have hope that at least something is being done. Because Banyajavo said that it's usually good and it's very important that you walk the talk. Because fighting corruption becomes a song and we don't see any action being taken. But this time round, people have hope that at least something is going to be done. However, like my friend here has said, let us see all the culprits. I mean, we have very, very competent investigators. And so we are, my assumption is we're going to get to the bottom of it. And so let us see every other person involved in this being taken down. Because when you look at the situation in Karamoja Banyaji, those people have been there, and the things we read and see, the situation is really dire. So why would you run and go down for the iron sheets? But then again, at the same time, my question here is, people asking themselves, was the problem in Karamoja at this moment iron sheets? Because this happens a lot. We've talked about PDM Banyaji, and some people asking, did the people tell you that all they want is cash? You know, there are 100 million shillings per year for every parish. Yeah. So the question here for me is again priority. Because if you went down to Karamoja and Banyaji and talked to some of these people and their leaders, they would tell you that they have different problems altogether. So because I don't know who came up with the idea that the people in Karamoja wanted iron sheets. And maybe they had planned for it and they wanted to steal these iron sheets, and that's why they advocated for the same. Because I mean, people are starving.
Maybe we need the information better. This was prior planned, that the people, the Karakunas, would get these iron sheets and improve their livelihood. So it was a program of government that was pre-planned. But there is also a practice within the OPM where the office of the Prime Minister is able to provide some of these goods and to help people that have been, hit by a catastrophe, a landslide, and whatever it is. So it was not because a person wanted to steal that they initiated this project.
I don't think you got my point.
You're not getting Sifa's point.
Yes.
Sometimes these are well orchestrated schemes. People sit in boardrooms, they come up with ideas, they come up with projects.
But for
with the intention to...
For your information, actually it's a bigger project. That money, about 38 billion Ugandan shillings that was passed in a supplementary, also had to cater for them restocking their cattle herds, goat, sheep. You know, they live nomadic lives. And the after effects of the LRA war, then cattle wrestling for decades and decades, His Excellency and Cabinet thought it would be important for them to settle permanently, and they start catching up with the rest of the world. So that's why they had to give them iron sheets. Then these actually, it's a bigger scandal, because even these herds that they were made to get, information coming through is they never got everything. This is just a tip of a bigger iceberg.
Actually,
Thank you.
Substantiate something that of the 39 billion, 22 billion was meant for goats, and about something like 7 billion is what is for the iron sheets, and something around 2 billion or something, or 1 point something was for maize. So all that we are following iron sheets only, but when you go to the side of the goats, there is a problem. When you look for the maize, there is also a problem.
And Frank Mwebas made a statement on the floor of Parliament. He said for them they have never distributed goats. Maybe if it was another ministry. So that is another
so it is
scandal.
possible.
So
Yes.
thank you, Banyaji. I thank my friends here for the supplement and contribution, and that's what I was saying. People sat and thought maybe the iron sheets were the priority for those people, but like we are saying, it was something much bigger. Actually, under the emergency, they were procured under the emergency financing. So what we are saying, yes, the iron sheets were there, but some of these people were saying, why didn't we start with planting material like seeds, maize, that is, and whatever, because there is hunger down there. People are dying of hunger, people are starving. And other people are saying, yes, you want, those people are basically into farming, keeping animals and whatever. So there were goats purchased meant to be purchased for those people. Did they get the goats? That is another question. So like my friends have said, we are talking about iron sheets, but let these people investigate further. We are going to see more scandals under the same project or program for the Karamoja people. So we are saying, if you thought maybe iron sheets because they were already there, readily available there, and all that, there was first thing to be looked at. Banyaji, there is quite a bigger thing under this thing. So for me, you saw people trying to compensate, I don't know, purchase 100, 500 iron sheets and whatever. But let's first investigate, because these same people who took iron sheets could have even taken goats, could have even taken money meant for the seeds, could have even taken money meant for I don't know what, all that thing. So it's quite a bigger scandal than we think. So for me, I want to thank...
But you see, there is an argument that the opposition always propagates. It says, if you think this problem is so big and the president has allowed it to happen for so long, why not overhaul the entire system? And the people that are sympathizers with either the NRM or within the NRM will quickly say, no, the problem is not NRM, the problem is not government, it is the individuals who are corrupt. But then, how are we going to deal with the menace if at all it's just the individuals?
I actually subscribe to that school, yeah.
Akunda opened up by saying it's just a systemic thing, it's structural. It is embedded within the operation of the regime, of the administration. How then are you going to bypass it when you know it's what defines them?
By the way, I also subscribe to that school of thought that it's individuals in this government. You cannot tell me of overhauling. Because Manyaji, let us wait and see. I know there is a reshuffle coming by. But let's wait and see. I don't expect to see the Prime Minister off, to see that. I don't know what they will do to the Vice President. I don't know what will happen to the Speaker of Parliament, because all those are culprits. I mean, suspects in this saga. But what I think is, Mr. President, like I've always said here, we have a lot of competent men and women, actually young at that can work for this country. If someone is found guilty of a particular crime, let them go. We have a lot of people that can work. So these things of thinking that Mr. So-and-so is a very good mobilizer and he can do very well in this region, without him you cannot get votes from there, and at the same time they are stealing, we are tired of all that.
Okay, thank you.
So you steal and go. We don't care who you are. By the way, we are very happy that these two ministers now have been tested. I mean, have sampled what it means to be in those coolers. But let us see even more. What I know is we cannot see all these people at the same time being put aside by the president. But there is a way he can do it, Manyaji. And some people are talking of seeing people bouncing back to cabinet. Maybe, like the president has always said, somehow you come a changed man. We have examples here. People are talking of the Honorable Jim Mwezi, but he's one of those people I can...
wants to install
Hold on.
number plate.
So we are saying, Manyaji, some of these people will
It's not a changed
never,
man.
like my friend here is saying, some of these people will never ever change, Manyaji.
Okay.
And I think we can do without them in government, in this system.
Let's stop shortly.
Thank
When
you.
we come back, we shall have Vanjisi and Peter have their contribution.
It's tough, it's bold, it's real politics. The Big Seat on 91.2 Crooze FM. Great music,
Great music.
great friends.
Great friends.
Uganda's biggest radio, 91.2 Crooze FM, great music, great friends. My name is Wesige Banyaji. The Big Seat is right on, and I want to appreciate you all for always listening to The Big Seat every Saturday. And for those that have held me up for the last 7 years, I appreciate you even more. I meet a couple of people that have listened to this show from 2016 when I came in here up to where we are. But special shout out to people like Sifa, John Turinawe, Asim Evandizi, Peter Mpaka, Owakunda. And there's so many who have come through here as guests. We appreciate you so much. Chama Didi, the ministers, the honorables, every person who has been a part of that journey. We appreciate you very much. And we are proud to say that we've made certain people members of parliament. We had here Juliet Sime, who was a regular here, went to parliament. We had Rita, who was always here, went to parliament. And we are sending another to parliament just in the next election. So we are proud of the show. We are not about to stop, but give us feedback. How better can we do this? What can we improve? The feedback is important. On the telephone console 752-912-912 and 780-912-910 and 912 Crooze FM on Twitter and 91.2 Crooze FM on Facebook. Give us the feedback. Banjisi, now it looks like, because the question has been, when Sam Kahamba Kutesa was implicated in some of the scandals, where did it end? When Barba Sekab Kenya was implicated in Chogam, where did it end? When we had the engineer Hilary Onek in monies of oil, Amama Mbabazi, we had the whistleblowers. We did not even allow courts to be able to verify some of the evidence that was within those documents. The president simply rubbished them and said he had given it a pinch of salt belief, but now he changed his mind to think that they were fabricated and they had nothing substantial. Why now? Why do we see the president act now than ever before?
Thank you so much, Banyaji, and congratulations once again upon that milestone achievement, and our dear listeners and viewers online. Banyaji, as a country, it's high time we fought corruption, embezzlement across board, not just identifying a few popular cases that are resonating or generating and picking traction in regards to the interests of Ugandans. On the issue of Karamoja, as I earlier said, it's a bigger problem, but it's just because it's the iron sheet issue that has already come to public attention. But the 39 billion Ugandan shillings that was passed even in a supplementary budget because of their need that was there at a time to resettle these people, to restock their cattle, sheep, goat, herds, give them shelter. They have land, communal lands, they are ever on the move. It's quite absurd to find someone who is being paid by the taxpayer a lot of money. Literally, these guys who are involved, they don't pay for anything, Banyaji. They have housing allowances, medical, have government vehicles, drivers, security, and they still stoop that low to steal things meant for some of the poorest communities in Uganda, communities that are starving, dying of hunger. And the cabinet, His Excellency, in his wisdom, says, let's do something. It's quite a pity, it's a shame. Corruption in Uganda, it's systematic. Even the government, these are the technocrats, by the time the CIDs get done with investigations, trust me, there are other people in these key ministries that will be implicated, technocrats, either PSCs or accountants, because they are always the architects of these grand scheme corruption-related scandals. They know how to play around with the system. So, I pray the fact that finally His Excellency has decided to walk the talk. Let's walk it to the latter. Let's not it end along the way. And let each and every government official involved, once convicted, let them serve their sentence. Banyaji, you are a law student in criminal law. Returning stolen goods does not exonerate you. Actually, it's proof that you're a thief. You're guilty. Then you should be convicted.
No, but for me, I think we are judging them too harshly. Because if at all I am the Right Honorable Speaker of Parliament, Kitutu gives me a call and says the Amabati here that you can use for your constituency, and I say I badly need them, and you assign me 500 pieces. What is the problem?
Banyaji,
yes,
that's selfishness of the highest order.
No, what is it? Someone has to help me and so many listeners understand.
Allow me.
How criminal it is for a government official to receive items from one institution of government.
I beg.
Yes.
Allow me shed more light on this saga.
Yes.
What do you take of a man like the State Minister of Finance, Economic Planning and Development?
No, that one was very
honestly speaking
wrong.
You take them to make your cattle shed. These iron sheets were even labeled. These guys should stop insulting the intelligence of Ugandans. We are not idiots. We are not fools. For heaven's sake, someone tells you, like Honorable Matia Kasaija, that I found them in my compound. They are the very people that drafted this policy. It all starts in the Ministry of Finance, goes to Cabinet, comes to Parliament, They all knew that these relief items were destined for Karamoja. So who is fooling who? And Banyaji, on this very note, I beg His Excellency, we are sick and tired of recycling corrupt officials. Uganda, we are not short of competent, qualified people to serve.
But the problem is that even those that you think are competent, once given opportunity, they actually do the same as the old guy.
I'm one as I conclude,
Yes,
I'm one of the biggest advocates. I'm one of the biggest advocates of the Chinese or these Asian tigers model when it comes to leadership fighting corruption. Actually, these guys who are going to be convicted and they should not only return. Action should be taken. They should pay back with interest. And even some of them audits for risk. I beg Mpaka. This is my opinion.
Yes.
And I believe it resonates well with most of the Ugandans because we are all affected, Banyaji. Because what happens the other side would happen in Masaka, wherever. They should be convicted. Audits should be carried out. How they accumulated this wealth, and their things, property should be attached and sold off to recover government money, because this has resulted into poor service delivery. You know how government projects, some of them are done, and people are stealing money. We glorify them when they have ill-gotten wealth. I beg to submit.
Okay, thank you.
Let me add something small on my friend's submission here. You're talking about the issue of how criminal someone can be because they've got a phone call, they read the iron sheets here and there. People of such caliber know the processes in this count of getting things. It's
That's
not just
true.
by mere phone calls. You're seated there and someone tells you, here we have cows and you go and pay a bride price somewhere. You should know that to get this, you have to get through these channels and those channels. So how do you expect an ordinary Ugandan to explain this whole saga? Because I mean, that is very flimsy and excuse.
Yes.
We cannot just buy that.
Okay. Peter Mpaka, you've been interfering
He's
with other.
been banning.
You've been banning. So what is the problem? After all, so your own party, the individuals that are part of that party, supervise or even lead the sectoral committees in parliament, and we know for sure the accountability. We know Mubarak Munyagwa, and there are so many that have led those committees, and they have done a shoddy job, or even are not able to highlight some of the cases that where individuals are running, are running away with money and wasting and abusing offices. So are you any innocent, or we think
I'm
you're
not
more...
any innocent, and I really want to say that I agree to a larger extent, maybe 90% or 80% to Owakunda's submission, and totally disagree with the lamentations of Mr. Bani and Sifa Safi here. Why? Why?
Yes.
These are lamentations.
Maybe
Because
our
where's
not
Jay?
clear to you. But no. We
Okay.
should change our strategies.
As a
Yeah, okay.
Otherwise, I didn't say we lamented.
Yes.
We are giving you the shortcomings of the government
Mr.
under
Banks
corruption.
here is really about to cry because it's like he's too overwhelmed by what is going on, and you kind of want to understand him. But I want to agree with what Owakunda said, that in the 38 years of the NRM, the biggest achievement they have been able to help us as a Ugandan community is no, don't say
Those are not my words, please.
I'm substantiating.
Okay.
Yes, I'm substantiating. In the biggest achievement. No. The biggest achievement
Let's
of
allow
the
him.
NRM,
Let's allow him.
together with President Museveni as the superintendent, is mentoring Ugandans and converting our DNA from a Christian, pure, holy, to something that is moral.
But Uganda is a secular
Like
state.
No.
Uganda is a secular state.
No, now let me come to my real submission, which I
Yes.
wanted to say. Because for
Please.
me, what is important is to really go into the fiber of the president's letter and see, do we see any resolve to fight corruption? Because it has become a cancer. And like Bani has said, it is what is causing poor service delivery. Even before you go to these Mabati people, you have seen insanity on a national airline in a blue paper. How can a national airline by somehow
What is wrong
somebody
with
sneaking
promoting
in with
a
a chivera of
delicacy?
insanity? That is, am I lying?
No, it happened.
It happened.
Yes.
So how can we reach to? How can we stoop to that kind of degree? So for me, the president here, I'm going to read some of the paragraphs he said. There are two issues of wrongdoing. If somebody took the abatement for the Karachunas and gave them to people in their constituencies, that's political corruption and seeking political favors, which amounts to cheap popularity. Then he says this is subversion, which means this is like treason, that what you've done is really, really an intense issue. And he quotes the NRA code, calling it cheap popularity and whatever and whatever. Then number two, he says there are those who were unconsciously involved. And he says after pure investigations and whatever, you should reimburse, but I will also find political action, the proper action to take. Then he says there are those who were unconsciously involved. I will also find how to know, and then I will take political action. Then he says those who took the iron sheets, I think this is one of the core things, those who took the iron sheets for personal use. This is a political mistake. This is not just a political mistake, but this is theft. And those
But
who,
it's only one. It's only in
Actually-
fact the two of them that took them for personal use. The rest are either for schools or health centers.
and that's where I wanted us to really examine and see, are we at a roundabout? Because we have had all these things going on in this country. Has the president finally come to a roundabout and is saying, let's deal with this and end it? So for me, I see Mr. Rugorobi and Chitutu in hot soup, according to that letter. Because for the Minister of Karamoja Affairs, not only being the person who was distributing, but the story has it that the iron sheets were found in some of the houses of her relatives, and some of the relatives were even selling them. So that's a real grave problem for her and her people. Then you want to go for a break or I finish up?
Please conclude.
Okay. Then for Mr. Rugorobi, he took it to the animal shed. That's also grave. But then there is also these people whom he's saying, you did take them for personal use, you took them and gave them out. That is also cheap popularity, which means it's also personal use. So now I ask myself, is it the first time that politicians are giving out things in constituencies? My MP, Dr. Rukari, in the Easter holiday was giving these yenfuka in chai. You imagine an MP coming with a mihini ngoyaretera abantu.
Okay,
So
let's stop for a
wasn't he
break.
seeking for cheap popularity? So I still see that the president is dancing around with our minds to think that he's taking any action. Kumbe, we are just seated in the same mess. There is no
Okay.
problem being solved.
After the commercial break, when we come back to the lifeline of the show, I'll open the lines. Good morning.
It's tough. It's bold. It's real politics. The Big Seat on 91.2 Crooze FM. Great music,
Great music.
great friends.
Great friends.
music,
Great music.
great friends.
Great friends.
We are back 2 minutes past 10 o'clock on Western Uganda's biggest radio station, 91.2 Crooze FM, great music, great friends. My name is Wes Sigebanyaji. I'm so delighted to have you listening to your radio. We are talking about corruption with particular reference to the Mabati saga. I'm going to pick your calls when we come back to the panel. Shall be engaging into another topic of discussion. But for now, to the lifeline of the show, 752-912-912 1780912-910. Call in right now and let's get to hear from you on 752-912-912 1780912-910. The big seats.
Hello Banyanji.
Good morning.
Morning to Madilu Hima.
Yes, Madilu, ni aje.
Poa sana, nafurahia sana hiyo mjadala ya leo. Nafurahia kwa sababu wa hivi mwizi ni mwizi. Na kama mwizi anaiba anatakana kuwa na discipline. President Museveni hakukuwa anafuatilia sana ile wakati ya nyuma. Saa hii sasa ameingia ndani kwa ndani kupata ukweli wa maneno. Wacha afunga wa minister, afunga ma bishop, afunga mapurukenge wenye wanasumbua government, wanaharibu jina yake. Na yeye hawezi kuenda ndani ya chalo huko kufuatilia maneno yenye iko ndani. Hawa minister ndio wanatakana wampelekee ile ripoti iko hapa, inaendelea hivi, hapa kunafanyika hivi. Alafu sasa mambo yetu inakuwa sawa bwana. Lakini government inaharibika China sababu ya watu 5, watu 10. Sasa hiyo discipline ikue kabisa, hata mtu usio anarudisha mabati na kufutwa kazi. Hiyo ni corruption. Na corruption ndani ya Afrika imekuwa kama mbogoya. Sababu mbogoya mtu anamesa tu. Na kama kabisa inafuatiliwa vizuri katika Afrika, mtu anajiusulu na anawachia wengine chance ya kuongoza ile uongozi yenye ambao iko mbele yake. Madamu Iva, asante sana kwa wewe sana. Wewe iko mama mzuri. Na nakubaliana na wewe kila kitu yote na wapata kila siku. Asante Banyanji.
Asante sana Madilu. Mwizi ni mwizi umesema vizuri sana. Tunakushukuru. I've spoken some Swahili right there. 0752-912-912-780-912-912. The big seat.
The big seat.
Good morning.
This is Jonan here in Wiz.
Yes, Jonan.
Wiz Uremba, Kazo district.
Yes, please.
I think this time Kazo is well represented.
Amen.
On this very issue of those people who stole the iron sheets, Mr. Banyaji, I think a common Ugandan would want to see these big men and women being sacked, brought to book, and actually being expelled from this government. Otherwise, Uganda, we are seated on a time bomb, and a time it is exploding.
Okay.
Thanks to the program.
Thank you so much. On 752-912-912-178-0912-910. Call us and let your opinion be put on record. The big set.
Yes, Banyanji.
Yes, how are you, sir?
I'm okay. Mwabari kutereza.
Yebari kusima bambi.
Yes, nasima nabagambe bona bwata isedi zoba. Ukuna Dr. Andrew nana terefugee bandi.
Yes, Dr. Andrew.
Yes, yoni ndeba ngu naba minister basigara bamwe naba MPs abamwe. Ina government esivire yo munonga. Aho kubani kirebuka kinemuna kantu kazi katambura ka kintu kidogo ba MPs kureba ba polisi. Kugira ngo babagende ho mpona mpora bagiye bakiriyaringa. Hato sanga mu yigara mu kiko mu kujyo. Nese ndi nyinyi zizireno zifa. Konka bona kuzirya icyo kurebera nkazi imyoga na operation zizindi za government. Kino muntu warje na kugira ngo bateke nka DPC obanko hawe na kubana zinazo basentezo kugira ngo bamuteke mu koti ninge so mugire ngo office yo wajikweza kubisebo ninge sinabo tama hansi ya government kujikora ibyo byakweraho kugira ngo muntu ndiza kwenda kurya sentezo aizina igamanye ngo ari kubisente za government ninge wajikweza kubi nubingwa hamuru mu guhweraho so we no kutereza
yabari munonga. The big set.
Banyaji.
Yes, good morning.
Yabari kutereza.
Kare bambe yabari kusima.
Nabatesa bona. Itoko kabirijono gamona na Mwebesa Rogers.
Yes, Mwebesa Rogers.
Sekore zikatete mbarenza rwanda ngo muganda rwambara. Ni twaza shonga ya corruption.
mazima Uganda kutwariza hamwe ekirasha ya muheru washanga minisita obu yakubiye nayamba abantu be omuyibategye emitwaro eshatu n'ecweka akaryiba akaritwara omuntu waburiijo akamukwatira ekyarikumi ky'akaruru yamuhiire mazima nooreeba ngu aho Uganda nitwasitarimu buga steadiness kandi nimpamya n'obwebembezi bw'2026 mbwakuba harimu akavuyo kaingi habw'enshonga abo baminisita abatiire abantu ninga abaturukirije hata bakirimu nibagenda omu maisho baza kugaruka 2026 nibakwijamu esente kandi oshanga abantu batakibenda so nobu baraba tomutomeni nindeeba ngu Uganda kirimu orubuzo rwingi corruption ekyetakahweraho n'enshonga emwe
kare ye bari munonga
sente nyingi ezikwebwa abantu nooreeba na polisi bonded y'okureeba neebwa omugiiga bose tibakaginoa so nobu baraba tomunkobo ntiexpectinga ngu baza kubiyayo baza kurugayo batiine ekibakwasira aha mukono nasigara nimwebesa Rogers
ye bari munonga mwebesa Rogers. The big seat.
The big city of Nyajiwesige.
Yes, what's your name and where you calling from?
This is Genius Sagaba, and as usual, I'm from Chiteren to her in Bushenyi district. Allow me first of all congratulate you for that milestone.
Thank you.
And also appreciate SIFA for usually standing for us. But we people, we have problems, but the government of Banjizi is the only thing that has a lot of too many problems. And I would want to call upon the people of Ruhinda Central not to vote evangelism because these evangelists should not vote for him.
Yes.
Let me stay listening.
Thank you so much for speaking English all the way. You rarely do that. You always tell us your English has a problem, but thank you this time round. Let me get back to the panel. We hear your conclusion on this saga as we get into our second topic, Owakunda.
Thank you, Wesley. Let me first put the record straight. This
doctor in research is becoming a
typical opposition propagandists. Those were not my words.
Yes.
Those are your words. But Wesley, like the second last caller said, that they bribed them with 1,000. He has alluded that he's a beneficiary of corruption. And I told you that corruption flows in our DNA. It's at the coexistence of our society. So you can see it is a deeper problem. And it is damaging crucial enablers of progress. Democracy, security, development, and service delivery at large. So for me this time I'm counting on my president. And all along we've been counting on him. But we've been optimistic, but this is optimism that borders naivety. You trust the person, but doesn't deliver.
Yes.
So for me, I'm counting on the president to be firm, to be decisive, to take radical decisions this time, so that he can deal with corruption once and for all. Otherwise, it's the usual rhetoric, we shall do this, then he will do political maneuvering here. And again, we can't blame the president. You see, you can't run the country on sentiments.
True.
Just because the public is saying this, then you act quickly. The president is a person who takes his time, who trusts processes, and I know he's waiting for investigations to be done conclusively.
But Owakunda, we know what happens to reports in this country, especially now. Maybe
like outside this time.
Yes,
I'm counting on him.
Yes.
We are waiting, all eyes on him. So let him show the country that zero tolerance to corruption this time. Thank you.
Okay. Let me get to Sifa. Your conclusion on that matter.
Thank you, Banyaji, and I want to take this opportunity to thank the callers. They were spot on. The likes of Madiru, Dr. Andrew Mwebesa Rogers, and Mr. Agaba. Yes, I will always be there for you. And Banyaji, Bwana Madiru said that hata kama mtu analeta mabati, anarudisha mabati, lazima fukuzwe kazini, na ndiyo na kusupport, na ni agree with you. Au watu wana soil jina la president, tunajua ni mtu mwenye anafanya kazi kwa watu wa Uganda, lakini kuna wezi ambao wanakaa naye karibu hapo kwenye maofisi, nafasi zingine. So asante sana Bwana Madiru kwa kunidhamini. I'm so happy. Na asanteni sana kwa kuwa nasi muda huu wote. Tumekuwa nao kwa miaka hii yote, na nadhani kwamba Crooze FM inakushukuru kama wasikilizaji wengine. So we are so very happy, Banyaji. Mr. Madiru said that even when someone returns the iron sheets, it does not mean that he has ceased or she has ceased to be a thief. And that's what we think. Because people will be stealing and returning. This is not drama, it's not a theater. You steal and step aside. We have people to work like I've always said. So we are saying, Mr. President, much as you might not satisfy each and every of our expectations, but I know there is a way you're going to handle this thing. And like I've always said, Mr. President is very unpredictable. Nobody expected this thing to come to this stage. So much more is going to be seen, maybe. Like I said, let's wait for the reshuffle. That's what most people are waiting for now. And what I'm saying is we might not see all these people being put aside, but at least something is going to be done. But as I conclude on this, Banyaji, I want to once again thank the public for the noise we made about the issue of Mabati. We had Honorable Rita Waika here last Saturday, and she was saying it was Parliament that made noise. No way. I want to take this opportunity again to thank the State House Anti-Corruption Unit, because they came out and unearthed these irregularities in this scandal. Otherwise, maybe Parliament would have handled it in a different way and would not have known all these details. So I want to thank you so much. So usually, let's give opportunity and chance to these institutions we have to do their work. If it is investigations by police, let's give it time. If it is the State House Anti-Corruption Unit, let us give it time. And we know that everything is by process. Like we said, we're not going to say that Mr. President do this and he does that. It's not a family where you work on your sentiments, like someone said. So if it is a question of stepping aside, we know how he can do it. But it's not about someone saying that, if Mr. President is in Imbarara, let us not see these things around. Like some people are saying that some of the ministers were not supposed to be in West Nile where the president has been. There are processes and he has a way of doing things. But otherwise, I want to thank you so much once again on this particular issue. And on this note again, Banyaji, allow me to thank management of this radio station for having you be in this seat.
Okay, thank you. Let me bring in Bandis. Bandis, your conclusion on this matter.
Thank you, Banyaji. I'll bring in a new twist or a new narrative. Morals. It all comes back to the kind of environment we have in Uganda. All the implicated or the suspected people are high-profile people that our children would look up to as models.
But why are you sending the children to look at ministers? It starts from you.
No,
you as parents.
No,
when you're busy giving children as they stand for being prefects in schools, and you're giving them money to bribe their counterparts, as you're busy forcing your way to King's College, Budo, Ontario, Smack, then
we need to work on our communities.
Yes.
From home, family being the best unit of society. Them as parents, we as parents, what example are we giving to our children? What kind of inspiration are we giving to them? Let's approach the Asian model. And Banyaji, in a special way, I want to thank our dear listeners that actively follow, participate, contribute in these well thought after submissions, the likes of Madiru, Agaba, Bruce, and the rest. But as I conclude, back to the law, you also know it. Returning stolen items or goods is proof that indeed
you abetted the crime.
You abetted the crime and you should be prosecuted for theft. So let the law take its course irrespective of who you are, the position you occupy in this country. Thank you so much.
Second, before my friends come in on this particular thing, I want to register my disappointment in the Prime Minister when she gave a statement that she could not monitor and supervise ministers because of her education. Really? No. It's not about education, it's about competence.
She cannot mobilize.
No, but I think that statement was unfortunate.
It was.
Let us all accept.
Yes.
This is the thing.
actually,
not
my
sugarcoat
conclusion.
things.
Yes,
my conclusion, she has tapped into it. One, in normal society, if you're mad by any incompetence, or even when you come to voters and you tell them, I will do this, and you find that you cannot deliver that mandate, you resign.
In which society?
in Africa.
In Uganda here.
I'm saying in a normal society.
And that's
In
okay.
a normal
That's what I
society.
do.
And that's what I'm saying, that what Sifa has said taps into what I was going to conclude with. First of all, these people being mad with Amabatge Mutware Shatonechwe Kankukumtez Wesimu ya Gamba, they should have resigned. They should have, before even they wait for investigation.
So you wanted the whole cabinet?
Yes,
the whole
yes, yes.
Down
Let
pending
them go.
investigation.
Yes,
They would
let
have
them,
stepped
yes, they
down.
would have.
No, but
stepped
what
down.
is wrong with His Excellency the
That's the
President
question of
saying
morality
all
that I
these
was
people should
telling
step
you.
down, including her Vice President?
Exactly, they should have stepped down yesterday, and that's my first
Just a
conclusion
second.
point.
Banyaji, that's the reason as to why I was raising the issue of morality. Any sane, morally upright citizen that wishes with this country with this embarrassment, they should not wait for the court process. They should step aside. If they are exonerated by the investigation, then they be reinstated
Yes.
back to cabinet.
And actually, it pains me to find that Chitutu was in prison in her capacity as a minister. Even Rugorobi right now stayed in the coolers in Kira, but still as a minister, not as an. For me, they should have. The number two, my last point is the cheap popularity that the president talked about. For me, actually, that whole letter
but also
is a
the
big
electorate.
point.
Peter
Because that's why
Mpaka.
I'm going to connect my cheap popularity point with the electorate. Because the corruption we are talking about starts at the polling station. Starts with us, the voters. Starts with us taking a mihini to voters so that they see us favorably. Starts with that. You go to churches. This chair has been donated by Honorable so and so because he's seeking a certain. You go to these small groups right now. The time when I was contesting for mayor, I would receive calls. Oh, Mr. Mpaka Peter, you are the chief guest of honor. You come, you are the guest. By the time I reach there, I find Rita Bwahika, I find Rutaba, I find Gundi Chabisho.
And you're the lightest of all
they
of them.
told me I am the big man of the function.
Yes.
So you see, I have to come with something.
So
to
the
give them.
electorates are crooks.
So even as the people, even as the people who vote, we really have. I want to ask the president if he's serious with cheap popularity. Let us deal with the electorate. Let us teach them that akaruru kawe kateri kakuhereza omugasho gwako ekakaba kensonga. But if you vote because they are going to give you some sweets, if you vote because this guest of honor brought a chair in the church, I'm telling you, we are going to keep dancing on the same roundabout.
We're stopping for a breather. When we come back into our second topic of discussion. Good morning.
It's tough. It's bold. It's real politics. The Big Seat on 91.2 Crooze FM. Great music.
Great music.
Great friends.
Great friends.
back, and 22 minutes past 10 o'clock here on Western Uganda's biggest radio station, 91.2 Crooze FM. Great music, great friends. My name is Wesige Banyaji. We've concluded on the matter of corruption and the Mabate saga, but I want to take special shout outs to people that are watching us by Crooze TV. I have people in Kabari. Agasha Brian, you're listening in from Katete, you're watching from Katete, and Wagaba Rogers. Thank you, sir. You always take time to call in and listen in. And Clovens Katshabe, who is saying, what I see, because Museveni sees his ruling time as slowing down. He wants to first eat our money and taxes and leave Uganda vulnerable. He's not kind. Akandwa Nahoa Bell, you're saying good morning, Wesige. Thank you for the show. I literally think that the whole cabinet should be washed away. Nyesiga James, you're watching from Kampala. Kakulu Lawrence, you're watching from Yevanda. Roger Satwine, you're watching from Katukuri Nyakayojo. Namanya Asha, you're watching live from Shema. And Ahibumjsha, you're watching in from abroad. And I know of a friend, Lillian, who is also watching. And I want to appreciate you so much. The feedback is amazing. Go to our social media handles, 912 Crooze FM on Twitter and 91.2 Crooze FM on Facebook. I've put the question on our topic of discussion, the second topic of discussion. We want to hear from you. So go right ahead and drop us a line. Now, President Museveni resumed his regional tours that are aimed to inspect the progress of the parish development model. He started from northern Uganda and now he concluded in the West Nile. The visits are meant to discuss investment, wealth creation, and deliberating strategies to reduce unemployment and poverty among the population. However, we know that NUP had a nationwide mobilization drive dubbed Kunga, where they were stopped not only here in Western Uganda, but entirely throughout the whole country. And their chief of mobilization, Fred Nyanzi, was stopped from mobilizing. And theirs is they must narrate the story of poor service delivery, corruption, and the torture of their political activists. Now, our question is, what do you think about the political and civic space of our country in this multi-party dispensation? We also know a serving general of the Uganda People's Defense Forces, Muhoozi Kainerugaba, who doubles as the first son, is making nationwide tours in celebration of his birthday and preaching the Muhoozi project. What is the problem? Why isn't the state, especially the military, the intelligence services and police, allowing the opposition to mobilize in the same space as their counterparts? I have Bruce Wakunda, Peter Mpaka, Asimwe Bandizi, and Sifa Safi. Let me start with Wakunda, Bruce. Yes, I know for sure you've been able to follow events. You know the president was in Aroa. You know Muhoozi Kainerugaba was in Karamoja the other time where we saw him with a cheat reading off his speech. He's selected for cover in a few, and you know he's been around and going around. These people ask to just mobilize and reach out to the same electorate, and it's impossible. But in 2005, we voted in a referendum to bring back multi-party politics in this country. What is the problem? If at all Museveni, as the leader of the national resistance movement, has the opportunity to reach the electorate, even as president, why not allow Kyagulanyi and his counterparts?
Well, thank you, Wesige. We must understand that the president has a mandate to govern this country. So he's doing his work. But when we talk about civic space, we really mean that people have the rights and freedoms to assemble, to organize, to participate, to freely communicate without hindrances from the state. And open civic and political spaces are really the cornerstone of democracies. But Wesige, let's look at this in a broader context. Uganda is not just an isolated incident or an exception. In African countries, and especially these young democracies, the political environments and the political terrains are very violent. And civic space has really been receding and shrinking all over the continent, not just Uganda. And these political actors, opposition people, don't operate in a vacuum. They operate in this country. There is a government, there is a state. It is charged with the duty to protect people and property. to ensure
But,
that
but
there is
also
tranquility.
to uphold the law.
True, I'm coming
Which
to that.
gives the opposition an opportunity to demonstrate, picket,
True.
and let their message reach the
True,
people.
I'm coming to that.
Yes.
They don't operate in a vacuum. The state is charged with the duty to ensure that there is peace. And the police stopping
yes,
these people.
we are not
Sometimes the police acts on intelligence, which is sometimes classified.
Bruce Wakunda.
Yes.
Intelligence that a red ballot you can start from there.
Police acts on intelligence, which is classified most times. Because when you say there is a mobilization drive called Kunga, the Mpakas are organizing, you
What
cannot
are
be
the
sure.
motives?
So the police and these security agencies have intelligence. Maybe this is a terrorist group. That has
But this is a
other
registered
motives.
political party, Bruce Wakunda.
Yes, that does not
And-
mean they cannot
and-
disrupt law and order, or they cannot engage in subversive activities.
And the Electoral Commission duly nominated us. And we have records to that. So how can you rebus terrorists?
No, I've not labeled you terrorists.
Yes.
That's also a possibility. That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
And by the way, I'm an advocate that politics should be demilitarized. It doesn't give
Yes.
a good picture. Sometimes you see deployments and you wonder whether we are at war in this country.
Now you're talking.
But we must accept that police sometimes and these security agencies are privy to information that we ordinary citizens are not privy to. So when they say that you should notify the IGP and he express permission for you to hold your activities should be in writing, it is also a preemptive measure to make sure that you do not disrupt other businesses and other people. So that is also a point. We must also understand that.
Bruce Wakunda,
Yes.
how will the opposition be able to mobilize and reach the masses and send their message to the people if at all every time intelligence does its job, it's to put them at loggerheads with the state?
No, well, we cannot say that their hands and legs are tied completely. Baka here is a renowned opposition
He's
person.
here.
He's here on the radio. Has it been switched off?
And I'm mobilizing.
Yes, he's mobilizing. He's sending messages. And even in the recent past, we have had vibrant opposition. They have engaged in their activities. They are doing their work in their constituencies. Most MPs are doing their work in their constituencies. Their party leaderships are active in parliament. Even their party organs meet regularly. So it is not completely to say that the civic and political space is not open. It is open. But as young democracies, democracy is a process. It is not an event that today we shall reach where we need to be.
But which problem do you find in simply gazetting a place, Namboli, Nachivuba, if at all it were here, on any space in Kampala or Wakiso, or here in Kacheka, where you say, well, the opposition, we have gazetted a venue for you, please go picket, demonstrate, send your message. Or you call on your people to meet you on a defined location or venue and send your message. Why is it so hard for government to even allow them to do even the bare list?
No, but I've given you avenues where they are doing their work. Their leadership in parliament is active. These people are always on air, on radios, mobilizing, intensified mobilization. Their activities are going on. These are isolated incidences
but I would want to inform
which
you.
happened here. But it is not to say that they are completely not allowed to mobilize or to engage in their party activities. That's also not true.
Okay.
And Banyaji, before I conclude, and we must learn from history and appreciate it. And I think the government should strongly think about this. When you close these avenues of peaceful engagements, negotiated reforms, principled compromises, we resort to violence. It's the same scenario that Museveni and his group decided to get guns and go. So they should be moderate and also stick to the rule of law where it is needed, so that we can have peaceful coexistence. That's why we went back to multipartism. We need parties to freely participate, like the ruling party is doing. So that's my submission.
Okay, thank you. Let me bring in Paka here.
Thank you, Westj.
Yes.
I would like to inform Owakunda that immediately after this show, there is going to run something saying that these are ideas of Mpaka Peter. So meaning that the space is not as free as you say it is. Now, the question that Westje put to you is, we have the president reaching out to people. We have Team Tusimbude under the leadership of General MK reaching out. They even have a birthday coming up in Kabale. Yesterday or the other day, you saw the chair, this Hajat, what? Hajat, the leader of the Hajala, of the national chairman. She mobilized people in yellow to go and buy the jaze for the Kabaka run. And it was massive in Kampala. But the moment, I think that was the question, and somehow I feel you diverted from it, although you answered it very well. So the question is, why can't we also allow Kyagulanyi to also come with his team and go to buy jazes? Because the office of the national chairman, NRM, has done so. Or equally as MK, yesterday, actually even the other day, MK and his team were in Kasambia. You saw how massive it was. The other day they were in northern Uganda, Kapchorwa area. You saw how massive it was. So I'm not lamenting. For me, what I'm saying is that why are we having this imbalance? And that's the thing that really Westje is putting to us. That when Chairman Nyans went to Change-Ojo with just a handful of people, we are not even massive as it has been in these other cases. The man was kicked, was dragged onto the road, was beaten. The few youth there were shot at. You know, and that's what we are calling the root of our society, which we had talked about, the corruption in our society. Because the Mpakas and the Bobby Wines, they are equally Ugandans. I don't think there is a specific class of people in Uganda that these are entitled to certain freedoms, these are entitled to leadership, these are entitled to, open space to come out and speak and everything like that. I think we need to fight this vice. Actually, it's a vice. It also connects to the corruption, because if a group is allowed and this group is not allowed, and that is also an imbalance in society.
No, but
which
you
we need
see,
to fight. Yes.
Peter Mpaka, the state is aware that perhaps you want to topple a legitimate government. It is very likely than not that if people of your caliber and your associates go together at Constitutional Square, their interest would no longer be about the message, but to force an eviction over one General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni.
I want to say it categorically.
Of which the state cannot just look on and watch.
No, I want to state it categorically that we actually want to topple the government. I want to state it clearly that we want to force an eviction of President Museveni, but by mobilizing, sensitizing our people to vote correctly. We are not armed. We are not armed. No. We are not armed. We are not armed. We have our words of mouth, like the president said, come and we debate by word of mouth. We have our words, we are telling our people, and we are mobilizing them.
Okay, thank
so
you.
If we investigate, if there is any information that Mpaka Peter wants to topple by arms or by some other kind of method, then there would be that I would have committed treason, like you've said. But if I am going to mobilize supporters, seekers of change, so that by 2026 we can vote wisely, I don't think there is a case that I need to answer there.
Okay, thank you.
Actually, Mpaka is a beneficiary of violence.
Yes.
That's their politics. They benefit when they are seen around being put on Kawangari and stuff. He's happy.
Yes, let me bring in Banjusi here. Banjusi, you under the team chairman MK project, you're all over the country breaking the law, politicking with a person that is supposed to follow the UPDF Act to its entirety. And you, as a training lawyer, you have no problem with going ahead to abuse the Constitution and the law and the statute that stops any UPDF official from engaging in partisan politics. This is what Moses Kainerugaba and people like Asim Banjusi are doing. Yet, you stop Peter Mpaka and his cohorts from mobilizing. Yet the Constitution requires and mandates and gives them a right to do so.
Thank you so much, Banyaji, and our dear listeners. And Mpaka, thank you for your submissions. But as you have alluded to the fact what Bruce was saying, you have ill motives. And our security agencies are privy to these ill motives. So, Banyaji, if we refer to Article 23, General Limitations on Fundamental and Other Human Rights and Freedoms, we all know what the Constitution says. In the enjoyment of the rights.
But the question then
listen
would
to
be,
me, Banyaji. There is something I'm building on in regards to Mpaka's submission and our dear brothers and sisters in opposition and even actually in government. In the enjoyment of rights and freedoms prescribed in this chapter, no person shall prejudice the fundamental or other human rights and freedoms of others or the public interest. What am I trying to say? Mpaka, you have a right to assemble, associate, carry out your civic education, but you should not always target urban centers to disrupt our business.
But you had people.
No, listen, Mpaka. Get playgrounds, gazette them, write to police, let people move there and find you in Kacheka. Why are you always interested in business centers, high street, whatever? And Banyaji and Mpaka, listen to me just a moment, Mpaka. There are some things I do not condone. The way Chairman Nyanzi was handled in change, I cannot support. Because today it seems tomorrow it will be me. And what precedent, what example does it give? There are better ways that these things can be handled. But at times, Banyaji, it's because these guys in opposition are not cooperative. These security people guide them, beg them, please, let's do A, B, C, D. The way Bruce said, because they want to make news be on Al Jazeera, CNN, I was beaten, violation of human rights, Uganda is a non-democratic. I let you submit. Non-democratic. And they dramatize these things.
Let's accept that information.
I don't want us to kind of sugarcoat the excessive brutality of the police and the regime of President Museveni. Now, let's leave the Mpakas and the chairman Nyanzi aside and examine what happened to the journalists who were covering the protest of the medical interns, asking for deployment. They were saying, deploy us. The police came on them and said, spray on them. Spray them. And they sprayed them. Were they also looking for favors from donors?
No.
I think that's also important.
Yeah, it's important, but you should not be oblivious to the fact that there are systems, mechanisms under which you, a medical practitioner, you went through to do your internship, to be deployed, to be employed by government. That kind of radicalism is not good for our country. This is a growing democracy. Rome wasn't built in one day. Yesterday, I believe you saw what is happening in France. France is on fire. This is a democratic country that we've been looking up to. Why? Because of the pension reforms. President Macron with his team have decided to bypass parliament and move to the topmost supreme body just to increase the pension years from 62 to 64. But France is on fire. And how are they being handled? Tear gas, arresting, so these things are not isolated to Uganda or Africa. Okay. But at times it's necessary for the good progress, peace, stability of this country. And when we talk of civic space, Banyaji, our brothers and sisters in opposition are ungrateful. When you go to these other countries, see what is happening in Kenya. Go to Rwanda, go to TZ. Magufuli had literally burnt all political gatherings. It's Her Excellency
Kenya.
Suhuru that opened that space last year with strict measures that must be observed to the letter.
Okay,
so
let's
for
make
Uganda,
money.
we are not doing badly. Actually, we are among the best in Africa.
Let's make some money.
To His Excellency.
Let's make some money when we come back. We shall have Sifa and back to the lifeline of the show. Good morning.
It's tough. It's bold. It's real. Crooze FM. Great music.
Great music.
Great friends.
Great friends.
On the last lap of the show, 15 minutes to the top of the hour on Western Uganda's biggest radio station. 91.2 Crooze FM, great music. Great friends. The big city's on. My name is Wesige Banyaji. We are live on Crooze TV. Just go to YouTube, type in Crooze TV, and be able to watch live of whatever is transpiring here. But also, go online and stream live on your radio on www.cruisefm.com/stream, and you get it crystal clear just like that. Now, Amanya Avad, you are watching from Denmark, and we appreciate you so much. MC Kanuzi, you're watching, and we appreciate you. Benedict Akampura, you're watching from Mubende, and Habakuk Cheblobi, who is watching from Texas, and all of you that are watching on Crooze TV, we want to say thank you so much. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. The big seat happens on air by radio and also on TV. Crooze TV is doing exactly that. All this is courtesy of Creative Digital Media. The gentlemen always do a fantastic job. This gives you an opportunity to rewatch the show, so you can be able to later on, in case you've missed all the points that you want to, that were captivating, that you want to perhaps rewatch, go to Crooze TV. It's right there. With me in studio is Bruce Oakunda, Peter Mpaka, Asim Evanjisi, and Sifa Safi. Sifa, as we're talking about civic and political space in a multi-party democracy, in Mityana recently, women just gathered to celebrate Women's Day, headed by their own member of parliament from Mityana. The lady that yes, Bagala. And you saw the manhandling. These are ladies. How much can they do? Why not allow them? It's just women is there for God. And an MP is a leader of a constituency or even a district. And we know in our protocol, in our order of precedence, they occupy about order 17, about there. They're important leaders of our country. Why would you go to an extent of stopping them from talking to the women in their constituencies?
Thank you, Banyaji. Well, the issue of handling women is a special thing. I would rather they handle them in a much better way. But Banyaji, when you use this word of how much can women do, I don't agree with you. If there is any gender that you should not play around with, it's a woman. Because it's a female. Because Banyaji, even these days I hear these country abakuita ba boda boda bakuiba ba boda boda bakora chino bakozesa bakazi, because we don't look suspicious in most cases. So that issue is put aside. A criminal is a criminal regardless. But I am. So Banyaji, I don't want to limit myself to that issue of women's day and whatever, but I want to look at it from a broader picture. I believe in human rights, Banyaji. I believe in justice, equality, and non-violence. But we should know our limits, Banyaji. Like we have always said, while you are trying to exercise your rights, Banyaji, you should not forget the freedoms of others. For example, I believe in opening up space for political space and whatever. But we know that usually in most cases in Africa, not only in Uganda, the opposition takes advantage of the situations. For example, you apply and you say that you want to talk to people. For example, these days you want to talk and tell people about Operation Wealth Creation and whatever, yet you have ill motives. And usually these security agencies, as far as I know, do not just wake up and just go and do things for. They act usually on tips and intelligence. So for example, if you say you are, is it Kunga or whatever, and some information leaks that you want to do this and that, which is not good and which is against the law, they will not sit and watch. Because there is a problem that they think that these two are intertwined, security and NRM. But for me, it is the duty of these security operatives to make sure that people are safe and their properties. So for example, Banyaji, when you're doing things, you should look at education, you should look at people's health, you look at security and look at the economy of the country. If you think you're going to come and you just, around this road, in Barakaba road, and it's near University, students are just there taking their lectures and whatever, and you think you're going to do your things and they leave you because you have permission or whatever, it shouldn't be allowed. Or maybe that is a hospital, people are sick and whatever, and you think you'll be anywhere anytime. So I think things should be done within the guidelines of the security agencies. However, Banyaji, I want to remind my friends who are listening in that sometimes these opposition figures, that's what they want, because in reason and they remain relevant. When you tear gas them and do whatever for them, it's an achievement. It's a plus for them. So sometimes they do things intentionally which are against the law because they want police to attack them. I'm not saying it's good to beat up people as security agencies and bundle them on trucks and whatever, but for them it's an achievement. Not only in Uganda but on the international scene. So I want to call upon my position friends in the opposition. It is good for you to have a space to act and whatever, but remember, power is not a tool to donate, like the late Mantarisa used to say. If you think they are going to give you a silver platter, do this, and yes, you're going to do it. You want to do it this way, and you're going to do it. No, that is not going to happen. So please, learn to use your the opportunities you get to at least show what you have to Ugandans. Let us support them. But if you think violence is the way to go, because Martin Luther King said that in spite of the temporary achievements, you can never bring peace through violence, and that is true. You want to play politics and remain relevant, but consider the lives of Ugandans, their properties and the economy at large.
Thank you, Sifa. On that matter, on our social media page, Facebook, 912, Singuzi Onesmus is saying in Uganda we just act as if there is no multi-party system, though it is not. By the fact, NRM is the only party that enjoys the rights and freedoms as a political party. Orishaba Marcel, who is saying this regime has not given opposition political parties freedom to look for support among the population. Basa Katunje, who is saying the about dubbed Kunga move, I don't see it as an hindrance in our political party system. Well, thank you. Mahad, you're watching from Kabari. Ivan Palvov, and you're saying, believe me or not, you're talking about the scandal, and thank you, you're in Uganda. Baton, Shima Stewart, who is listening in from Bremba Kazo, saying President Museveni is trying to develop Uganda, but the problem is the corruption. Then, Turia Hebwa, you're saying, I just want to jump to the inner disease of corruption that has deeply entered this government. Jordan, I see you. Olil Alex, who is saying the problem in Uganda's opposition party is opposing government on all programs, whether good or bad. Ashraf Kashonji, Von Ranks, Chobe Ronald, I all see you. Let me go to Twitter a little bit. Our time is fast spent. Clovens Kachabe, you're saying, I earlier said Museveni is selfish and a dictator. Why is Mohoz not always interrupted? Austin, you're watching and you're saying, I don't have a say politics became dirty. I don't need to, Cyrus, you're listening and watching from Misintro. Muhereza Felix, I want to appreciate you. You're saying, I think our president will do more than 1 week. Let me pick two calls, come and for the parting shots, and we get out of you on 752-912-912 and 782-912-910. Call in just one or two and we get going. Mwejuche Francis, you're saying the problem with NOOP, they cause a lot of commotion even when there is no police. Let me pick the parting shots, the big set.
Good morning, Bayaji.
Good morning.
Yes, I'm talking to Marvin.
Yes, Marvin.
Ababakugamba mbu Moses is not interrupted. Do the right thing in the right time. Dokuza kwataga mbinyo kazika everywhere mbu now in the right.
Okay, thank you so much. We've gotten that on 752-912-912 and 780-912-910. We get out of here. Let me start with Sifa, your parting shot.
Thank you so much, Banyaji. I want to thank the listeners and the viewers for being with us all this time through. And as I conclude, I want to tell Ugandans, Banyaji, to go and work. Do not be diverted by these unnecessary programs of some people, for example, Mbukunga, whatever, and instead of going to get your 100 shillings for your school fees, you're just running around someone. So as I conclude once again, I want to thank the president for the tour in this issue of the, trying to tell people to create wealth and whatever, but I want to remind him, of course, you talked about the issue of forests, protecting forests and whatever. As long as you don't make energy affordable by Ugandans, for example, gas for cooking and whatever, trees will always be encroached on.
Okay, thank you, Sifa. So Banjuzi, in a second, your parting shot.
Thank you so much, Banyaji, and our dear listeners. In a special way, let me say hello to someone listening in from Barra University, that's Julian. On the issue of MK movement, I tactfully decided to make sure I conclude with it.
In a second,
MK movement is a group of Ugandans that wish well this country, that would love to see the continuity, sustainability of the achievements and gains that we've made as a country under NRM through guaranteeing a peaceful transition from General Yoweri Museveni to Bahaburwa to General Muhoozi Kainerugaba. Thank you.
Okay. Peter Mpaka, your parting shot.
Yeah, I want to ask our dear listeners that please vote wisely. When the time comes, don't just go for a bar of soap or some sack of whatever. Vote wisely. Then number 2. Ebyeba kubeta mu ebyamanya birthday, manya nichi, manya muzoku kumurazeyo murebeke ngumwari akanda baba transport refund. But in the next time, because they are using our taxpayers money. Konkana weni mbashaba ngumuno kuzayo mutazayo. There are better things which you can do.
Okay, thank you Peter Mpaka. Before I go to Bruce Wakunda, I have a message here from Alan Muhandichi, who is a person that I know. I personally believe Uganda ceased to be a multi-party state in 1972. Since then, we are under one party. Though it's kind of complex to see and understand. Alan Muhandichi, thank you. Joel, who is famously known as Ja Live DJ, listening in, and thank you. And there's so many of you that are catching the show. We appreciate you. Akunda Bruce, your parting shot.
Well, mine is to confirm that we still have open civic and political spaces, and the government of the NRM still guarantees freedom of expression, association, assembly, and other rights and freedoms. These Mpakas are just doing politics. What would he say anyway? No.
Yeah. Thank you, Bruce Wakunda. Thank you, Peter Mpaka. Thank you, Simu Banjuzi. Thank you, Sifa Safi. Yes, thank you so much. My punchline this week is for those that have made it in whichever achievement. go and make our country better. And the ministers, you did a very dishonorable thing to take what was meant for the most vulnerable in our society. Let's catch up next Saturday on the big set. My name is Wes Gebanyaji, but I want to thank those that have helped me real good for the last 7 years. Hosting this show has been amazing. I'm not about to stop until forever. See what's the matter?
In case we don't come back here before Ramadan, I want to wish the best to all my fellow brothers, Muslims and brothers, sisters and brothers in the Islamic faith. Happy Eid and I take this opportunity to invite every one of you here, and those who are listening in, as long as you know Safi Sifa. Thank you.
We are out of here. Good morning.
The views expressed on this program are not necessarily the views of this radio station or its management.
This radio is regulated by Uganda Communications.